In this clip, we're looking at how you may use Formulae in Microsoft Excel, and in particular how you might use absolute and relative cell references. In other words, whether you should use the $sign in a formula or not. So the example we're looking at is the Leinster Nutrition Association, and in this case, in this version of the problem, what you'll see is that we have, for each county, we have 12 counties in Leinster. They're listed there from rows 5 down as far as row 16. And then in the column C, D, and E, we have the number of members in 3 different categories you have in each county. So Carlow has, under the student category in column C, it has 39. Under the employed category, it has 5. Under the retired category, it has 22. And then Wicklow likewise has 20 students, 17 employed, and 9 retired. So what we have then is we have the membership fees that you might charge those members. So we have 3 different rates for the 3 different categories of individual. We have a student rate of 40, an employed rate of €45, and a retired rate of €50. And the goal in Excel is to try and complete this block of cells, to try and calculate the membership fees for each county, for each category, with the minimum amount of formula to be built. So in other words, can we enter a formula in cell F5 here that will take, let's say, 39 students for Carlow, multiply by €40, and then can we replicate that formula for the rest of the counties for the students, and then for the rest of the categories, for the employed and retired categories. So it's possible to build one formula to complete all of that. So the simplest formula we might use in Excel is where we don't use $signs at all. So if we leave out the $signs and just go for a simple formula, we'll be multiplying C5 by F4 for Carlow. And we can fill that down then. And you notice that the figures will start going, getting very big very quickly. So it's obvious that it's incorrect. So even before we won't even consider filling to our right. So if we look at the problem, the first problem is that for Carlow it's C5 by F4, which is correct. For Dublin it's C6 by F5, which obviously is incorrect. So the problem here is with the F5 part of the formula. The F5 should be remaining as an F4, and it shouldn't be becoming an F5. So if we go back to fix the formula and we lock the 4, so we'll just build it up stage by stage. We'll lock the row part of that formula and see does that improve matters. So we now can try and fill it down, and certainly for the student option, it looks like we've got an improvement. So we have C5 multiplied by F4, that solves Carlow. For Dublin, it's C6 by F4, so that looks fine. And down for Wicklow, it's C16 by $4. So the $sign here has ensured that each formula will use the F4 cell rather than any other cell in column F. It won't go to F5 or F6. So we've locked the row part of the formula there. So let's see what happens when we try to fill to our right. How does Excel behave? So when we fill to our right, we notice that the C6 part of my formula, or for Carlow, for the student it was C5 by F4. For the employed, it says D5 by G4. So does D5 by G4 look okay? It's 5 by 45. That looks okay. And if we go down to Dublin, it's D6 by G4, $4, sorry. That looks fine. And for Wicklow, it says D16 by $4. So certainly when we filled right from the student option to the employed option, it seems to have done what it's supposed to do. But we'll just check the retired category next. And for the retired category for Carlow, it should be 22 multiplied by 50. So 22 is in cell E5, and the 50 is in cell H4. So if we look at our formula, it says E5 multiplied by $4. So again, it looks fine. For Dublin, it should be E6 multiplied by $4, and again, that's correct, giving us 950. And for Wicklow, we want to multiply 9 which is in cell E16, by 50, which is in H4. So if we look at the formula, it's E16 multiplied by H $4. So in this particular version of the formula, what we've been able to do is enter one formula in cell EF5. So that's the formula, equals C5 by F $4. So we'll just get rid of all the other variations of it. So it's equal C5 by F $4. And because we have put in a dollar sign on the 4, that the F can become a G or a H, as the case might be. So if we look at the second formula then, we only put in one formula. That's the key message. Only one formula was created and was replicated down for the remaining counties and across for the remaining columns for the feed categories, the employed and the retired categories. So by virtue of doing that the way we did it, we've been able then to get Excel to automatically take the first version of the formula as we filled right. It's the F4 became a G4, G $4. And then for the retired category, the fee switched to H, to column H. So we ended up with those variations being automatically created for us. So again, we've only entered one formula. And we entered one formula, we've been able to replicate it. So again, we make less mistakes and we're more efficient. We're more productive. Okay, we're more productive in terms of the way we build our spreadsheets. So it's better practice if you understand how to use the dollar signs, etc. in Excel formula. There's lots of gains to be made. You'll build your spreadsheets far more quickly and you'll make far less mistakes. In other words, in this case here, we only had one opportunity to make a mistake. So if we get it right first time, we can then replicate down for the counties and across for the other employment categories, the other membership categories. So that's another example of how to use, to appropriately use the dollar sign in Excel formula. So it depends on the problem you're solving. Okay, so in some problems, you will need no dollar signs at all. In other problems, you will need dollar signs on columns and rows. But in this case, we just need in the membership fee part of the formula, we just need to lock the row element. So that's why we have F $4 in this case. So that's the end of the clip.